Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Twisters that came out in theaters. I'm incredibly excited to talk about this movie. I really enjoyed it, and personally, I think it is one of the best movies that's came out this year, and it is the perfect summer movie. So let's talk about this, shall we? Okay, so right off the bat, I do want to go ahead and say that for me personally, I think that this is one of the best movies I've seen in the last 3 months. I think that it has everything that I wanted this movie to be. In my opinion, this movie had about like 4 or 5 boxes it needed to check, and it checked every single one of those. So I was a big fan of this. I've seen a lot of people online are giving it like 3 stars, 3.5 stars, and I personally think this is like a damn near 5-star movie. This movie has incredible pacing, incredible character work, incredible acting, and overall, like I said, it had a couple of boxes for me, and it checked every single one of them. So I'm going to issue a spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't seen the movie. But that being said, we're going to dive into this, and I'm going to go through each of those boxes that I was talking about and explain why I needed this to work and why when it did work, it was so satisfying to me. Okay, so the first box I want to talk about is very similar from the first Twisters movie, the one that it's based off of, Twister. I think it was like 1996 or something like that. I watched that movie for the first time in preparation for this movie, and something that really surprised me about it was the fact that it was a romance story. I did not realize that. I didn't realize that the kind of like love story throughout that movie was one of the most important parts of that movie. So going into this and knowing that they had Daisy Edgar Jones and they had Glenn Powell, and all throughout all of their marketing and everything, they've had incredible chemistry. I was like, okay, this needs to have a good romantic subplot. It needs to have, like, these two people coming together very naturally, and it needs to feel like something that is well-earned, and it can't be something like Anyone But You, where they're like, okay, well, they have this hot person, and they have this hot person, they just need to throw them together, because Glenn Powell has incredible chemistry with a lot of the actors he works with, and I feel like there's so many times where they're like, okay, we're gonna do a rom-com, we're gonna do a romance movie, and they'll just get hot actors and actresses and put them together, and so I was like, okay, the chemistry needs to be there. There needs to be a solid love story. These people, if they are going to end up falling in love with each other by the end of the movie, it needs to feel natural, and this movie absolutely nails that. It does the enemies to lover trope incredibly well, and they do such a good job of building up Tyler Owen's character, the one that's played by Glenn Powell, to being kind of like a jerk and somebody who's over the top, but also he knows a lot about tornadoes. He knows a lot more than he's putting off. He kind of studied meteorology and stuff like that. He actually has a general idea of why tornadoes happen the specific way that they happen. And he's not just like an airhead. He's not just somebody who's going around chasing storms for fun. He knows a lot about the storms. He knows a lot about the science behind the storms. And he also is trying to help out the people who are experiencing, you know, the hardship that happens after the tornado. And I think that everything about his character arc throughout this movie is incredibly satisfying, and the love story between him and Daisy Edgar Jones' character is also very satisfying. And then the next box that I want to talk about is very similar with that, with the character stuff. I just loved everything that they did with the character work in here. The entire time I'm watching this movie, I kind of was very confused because in the first half of this movie, they do a really good job of setting up the fact that Tyler Owens and his entire gang of misfits or whatever, all the redneck kind of like hilly-billy characters, are kind of set up to be like the bad guys. They seem like they're really big jerks. They're going around messing around with tornadoes. They're shooting fireworks into tornadoes. They're recording everything, and they just seem so over the top and obnoxious and people you would not want to be around. And the entire time, like, we're seeing these characters and we're seeing them interact, and we're seeing the way that they talk to Daisy Edgar Jones' character and the way that they're interacting with Anthony Ramos' characters. They seem like really, really terrible people. And the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, how are they going to pull this off? Because as of right now, I was not a fan of Glenn Powell's character. I was not a fan of anybody on that side of the story. And I'm like, by the end of this movie, these two characters are supposed to be in love, but it feels like it's going to be forced. And then halfway throughout this movie, they do something which just like a slight little like perspective shift, and it works so incredibly well. It almost feels like a plot twist, and it is so satisfyingly well done. But basically, we find out that Tyler Owens, this person who's this YouTuber who's really famous and he's big and successful, and a lot of people are really big fans of him, all of the proceeds and all of the money that they are making from this, they are using to give out money and give out foods and meals and stuff like that to the people who are losing their homes in these tornadoes. They're going out and setting up camp and making it so that the people who just went through these tornadoes have a safe place to sleep at night. And they're also giving them food, they're giving them water, they're helping them find their loved ones after the storm. And it's just such a satisfying reveal that, oh yeah, these people who on the surface look like they're really terrible people are actually really great. They just love what they're doing a little too much at times, but for the most part, they're in it for the same reasons why Daisy Edgar Jones' character is in it, and I absolutely loved that. I think that was a really well done reveal, and the way that they kind of like flip-flopped it halfway through it was incredible. And I like the fact that like in the beginning of the movie, the group that she's with Anthony Ramos, seems like they're the good guys, and they're like, okay, the scientists, we 100% want to be with the scientists, because in the first movie, that's kind of what we were looking for, the people who are sciencey and they actually were doing all this research and all this projects and stuff like that, versus the people who were just reporters and wanted to make, you know, a bunch of money. And the way that they are able to kind of like flip that on its head in this movie was so satisfying to me. I absolutely loved that. I think that the character work was fantastic. I think each of the characters in this movie, the three main ones, Daisy Edgar Jones' character, Anthony Ramos' character, and Glenn Powell's character, all went through a great character arcs and great character development throughout this film, and they all learned how to be a little bit more understanding, and they kind of learned how to be a better person by the end of this movie. That being said, there's something Anthony Ramos' character does at the end of the movie that I'm like, nobody's talked about it, or at least not that I've seen anybody's talked about it. Did he kill Scott? There is a character who's played by David Cornswet who's kind of a jerk throughout the entire movie, and there's like this really, really bad Category 5 tornado heading straight for this city or whatever, and David Cornswet's character is like, oh my god, this is awesome, this tornado is happening, we really need to go and get into position so that we could, you know, track this and we could like set up shop or whatever. And Anthony Ramos' character is just like, no, there's this really bad tornado, we need to go help the people in this town, we need to make sure everybody in the town is getting to safety. And Scott, the character played by David Cornswet's just like, no, we need to do our jobs. Our job is way more important than saving a bunch of people. And he basically says that he doesn't care about people. And then Anthony Ramos is just like, no, we need to help out the people. And they have this big argument. And then eventually Scott gets out of the car because they were going to like switch seats or whatever. And then Anthony Ramos drives off without him, stranding Scott in the middle of the path of this giant tornado. Did he die? Like, did he inadvertently just kill this guy? Because he was a jerk, don't get me wrong, but like, you just stranded him in the middle of a giant field where there's a giant tornado happening. And I understand your thought process is, well, we need to go save the people in the town, but did you just kill somebody so you could go? And nobody's talking about it. Why is nobody talking about this? Okay, and then these last two boxes are kind of just big things. I'm like, this is a summer movie. It needs to be great. So the next two, I'm kind of going to combine these two, and then there's going to be one more after it. But the next two are the score. Absolutely incredible and a fantastic soundtrack. The second I saw the list of the people who were making songs for this movie, I was like, this is going to be incredible. Miranda Lambert, absolutely fantastic. Her song of this is incredible. Obviously, the man, the myth, the legend. Why did I blank on his name? The second I said the man, the myth, the legend, his name immediately left my mind. Luke Combs. Luke Combs' song for this is absolutely fantastic. Tyler Childser? I'm just going to put up the list of all of the people who are in this. But, like, it's just an incredible group of people coming together to make an incredible soundtrack. And every single song that is used in this movie just feels so perfect for the moment. I feel like they do such a great job with, like, bringing in some more emotional songs during some of the more emotional sequences. And then, like, whenever there's epic tornado sequences, throwing in, like, some of the really hardcore country songs that feel just so rock and roll and epic. And I absolutely loved the use of music in this movie. They absolutely nailed it. And something that I love, and I didn't realize this going into this was a Warner Brothers movie. Last year, there was a huge Warner Brothers movie that came out that was kind of the movie of the summer, Barbie, and that one also had one of the most impactful soundtracks that came out last year, and I think this is going to be the most impactful soundtrack that's came out this year. So just like back-to-back years, Warner Brothers just killing it with incredible soundtracks. And then for the other thing that I wanted to talk about is at the end of the day, this movie seems like the kind of movie that would need a lot of comedy. You have a very talented comedic actor like Glenn Powell, who is really great at delivering great funny lines. Anthony Ramos also in his own right, like in the Transformers movie last year, he was absolutely hilarious. So overall, just expecting there to be a lot of really good jokes in this, and there were a lot of really funny moments. Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell's characters at the beginning of the movie, when they're butting heads and they keep kind of insulting each other, it is actually so funny. She has some of the best roast ever, and I absolutely loved everything about that. It was fantastic, and like I said, great music, great comedy, makes it a perfect summer blockbuster. Alrighty, and then the last thing that I need to talk about is this movie is Twisters. It is about tornadoes. Were the visuals great? Yes, they were. Absolutely. I think that overall, all of the tornado sequences were fantastic. I feel like there wasn't a single moment that I was like, oh, that CGI looks a little bit splotchy. No. Literally every Twister scene looked fantastic. The choreography was fantastic. I think that there were a lot of really great sequences, like the rodeo sequence, where they're having to run for their lives and run and try to save as much people as possible. And there's people like tripping over themselves and then them having to pick them up and keep them running and keeping them moving. And they do such a great job of kind of blocking those sequences. I don't think a lot of people realize how difficult of a scene some of those are to film, where you have about like 40, 50 different people running, and it's like, it's chaos. But every single person has a specific thing they're supposed to be doing. So the person who's supposed to be falling out is supposed to be falling down at a specific cue. They're supposed to be falling down in front of a specific person so that they know, okay, we need to help you up. And the way that they were able to choreograph that and make everything look insanely natural was fantastic. I think that they did an absolutely great job with that. And overall, just all of the visuals were fantastic. All of the sequences where they're driving the tornado Wrangler like truck, and it's like hopping up and down, like that stuff is cool. I know that there's ways that they can do that practically, but a lot of times they have to just film a like truck with a lot of like little dots on it so that they can fix that in post. So if that's what they did, awesome. If they had an actual truck, that's awesome too. And then like I said, just overall, every single tornado sequence looked incredible. The buildings being destroyed and everything, absolutely fantastic. And I think just overall, they did a great job with making this feel insanely intense. I love this movie, and anybody who lives in a, you know, tornado valley or whatever, these tornadoes are very common, this movie would probably be absolutely terrifying to watch. But that being said, overall, loved this movie, loved everything that they did with it. Like I said, I gave this movie pretty much 5 stars. I gave it 4.5 on a Letterboxd. Though 2 reasons I gypped it. One, Kiernan Shipka is in this movie, but she's only in it for about 10 minutes. And I love Kiernan Shipka, and if you're gonna have her in a movie, have her in it longer. Oh my god, I love her. She's fantastic. I love, there's a lot of intercourse right now on the internet of a lot of people who are like, they couldn't tell if that was her or McKenna Grace, and I do think that that's absolutely hilarious. They both look fantastic, and they both look the same. Not the same, but very similar. And I think in this movie, they were supposed to be like high school age or whatever, the character that Kiernan Shipka was playing. So like they made her look a little bit younger too. So yeah, she looked a lot like McKenna Grace. And I thought that that was hilarious that people were like, I couldn't tell who that was. But yeah, part of the reason why I gypped it was because she was barely in the movie. And then the other part that I gypped it for is they have such a great romance story in this movie. They have a lot of really great sequences with Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell. And by the end of the movie, they don't have a single kiss scene, which is okay, but also anyways, but yeah, other than that, I thought that this movie was fantastic. There's some people who've rated it 3 stars or like 3.5 stars, and I'm like, I don't see what people were disliking about this movie. I genuinely thought it was pretty damn good. But yeah, overall, I gave this movie a solid 94 out of 100. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching, and if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow.